following podcast is a Jill Divine Media production.
Okay, Nick Bennett, what's your title at Hearts and Hope for Uganda?
Hearts and Hope for Uganda. My technical title is I'm the guy for partner and donor relations.
Does it say
that guy?
The guy
I usually
on your business card?
In my emails, I say partner and donor relations guy because it sounds a little bit too like I know what I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, I throw guy in there and then they're like, oh.
So what does that mean?
Partner and donor relations. So yeah, Hearts and Hope for Uganda has been around probably 10 years. Mm-hmm. You guys all know us.
Yeah, because if you don't know, in the show notes, you can find the links to the episodes I've done in the past. We've had Andy on, we've had Todd on, the founders. We've had Sarah on and Kelly on. They're your coworkers. So we have some history with Hearts and Hope here.
Yes.
So been around 10 years-ish, and
been in the works for longer than that. And those 10 years, the way Todd and Andy would describe it, who are the two volunteer founders.
Crazy.
These 10 years have been kind of figuring out how to do it. And we get most of our support through church partners or individual partners. And the way that I've heard Todd say it is we've found these partners in spite of ourselves, is what he always says. There's never been an intentional seeking out or push to actually find partners, seek out prospects, and kind of get them tied up with us. So it's just been word of mouth, churches hearing about us. They've gone to some conferences and stuff like that, but it's just been the Holy Spirit working and pulling people together that are meant to be together, and it's really amazing. But from what I understand, they came together as a board last year, and they were making a decision of whether they were going to keep things how they are, which is amazing. Yeah. Great success, doing awesome things in Uganda, or other side of the coin is targeting some rapid growth. So with that came adding some staff, being a little bit more intentional about finding partners, seeking out prospects that would want to get involved. And that's kind of where I come into play.
The guy gets hired.
Yes.
All right, Nick, we have to back up, though, because you didn't just fall upon Hearts and Hope for Uganda. Let's talk about your experience. How do you even know about this organization?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's a crazy story. My old man, Ken Bennett.
Also known as Dad.
Yes. Some of you guys know him. He's been involved with Hearts and Hope since before Hearts and Hope was even a thing. He went on the first trip. He was there, buddies with Todd and Andy, and right away fell in love. How could you not? And so sponsored a kid since I was, in middle school.
Okay.
So grew up, pictures on the fridge of our sponsored students and sending letters and hearing about the amazing stories of the trips from my dad, and always just fascinated by it growing up. And then in 2019, I got my first opportunity to go on a trip to Uganda. I went with my mom, dad, and sister. It was absolutely amazing. I went again in 23. And so, I just kind of grew up knowing about Hearts and Hope, loving what they do, hearing about it in church, obviously, too. I've been a longtime member at Messiah. And Messiah's a bunch of superstars for Uganda. So,
okay, as a kid, and I'm just thinking about my two girls, when you're seeing the pictures on the fridge and your parents tell you you're doing this, like, what do you remember thinking? Like, what are we doing? Who is this kid? What is this place? Like, why?
Absolutely. I mean, I learned about it at a young age, so I probably was, I thought it was cool, but I couldn't even really wrap my head around where it was geographically, how far of a distance that was. And then the whole concept of just developing relationships with people that are so not only far away from you, but just live in such a drastically different culture and upbringing. So that's one of the things that I would say I definitely didn't have a grasp on until I started going and seeing it and meeting the people and seeing the situations that they're in. So yeah, I would say that was something that came later for sure.
Okay. In leading up to this conversation, like I said, I've had Andy and Todd on, I've had Sarah and Kelly on, and the reason why we got connected, my family, we had, again, we're working for Messiah, but this is actually, I was working at the time for the church, but had heard about Hearts and Hope for Uganda, knew that this was a project that the church was a part of, but started getting involved by sponsoring a kiddo. His name is Derek, and that's where it started. And I always knew in the back of my mind I wanted to go on a mission trip, and I didn't know exactly where that was. And then obviously you start getting invested and you start hearing people talk about it. So we're going to talk about my first mission trip, and I wanted you to be a part of it because you led me on this mission trip. And I think it's important to talk about the experience and whether or not it's Uganda or someplace else, how it makes a difference. And so fast forward to June 2025. A lot of months leading up into then making the decision to go and represent the church doing so. And I was very open with you, Nick, that there was nothing I was scared of about going except for leaving my girls. Mm-hmm. And I remember you and I having a really long talk and about your mom. And I was also open with you that I was going to therapy to talk through these things. And she really helped me to prepare for that day that I left. And it's never easy leaving your kids. You said that about your mom. She didn't want to leave because she went with you and one of your sisters, and you have one more sister that didn't go. Yep. But it was still hard for her.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was 2019. That was my first trip, and I remember. And I'm not trying to spill my mom's beans on the podcast, but to say
she's going to get mad at me, isn't she?
To say it in short, she's leaving home for her is not ever going to be the first option. She likes to travel, but it's like, when are we coming back? Kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So getting her to go on that trip, I remember my dad trying to sway her, and she knew how much it meant to him for her to go. But I would say she's definitely sees herself as more of at Hearts and Hope, we say that there's goers and there's senders. Mm-hmm. And she definitely always saw herself as a sender. Dead set on the mission, always sending letters to the kids. I'm not at all trying to discount her passion for the mission, but just going that far away was something that was a huge step for her. And she did amazing. It was awesome.
And she was with 2 of her 3 kids.
Right.
Like I didn't, helps. Right. My husband and I have said, because of the girls' ages, they're young, we will not go together, my husband and me, because of their ages, like I just mentioned. It's just not something that I'm comfortable with. So until they're of age to go, we will go separately. But the idea of going with them just excites me so much.
Yeah.
So, yes, I had a lot. And I talked to your mom, and we talked and said, you know, the hardest part is getting there. And then once you're there, you're in it. And of course, you're going to miss your kids, but you're going to be so busy. You're going to be doing so many things. It's going to be really, really, really hard to just focus on whatever is coming to mind about them. That really helped me because she's right. Once you get there, it's game on. But I would love to offer anyone who is going to a mission trip or thinking about it, please reach out if it's about leaving your kids. Like I came up with a couple of different ideas to stay in touch with the girls when I was gone. And just things, getting them in place and stuff, and having hard conversations with my husband about the things that I'm feeling. And because also, you know, your partner is like, you don't trust me, or I'm not saying that's what he was saying, but he was like, you know, I got this. I'm like, it's not that I don't trust that you have this. It's me. It's fully me.
Yep.
So I can offer some counseling ears or their listening ears if anybody is interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the trip to Uganda was the most beautiful thing that I've experienced. And it feels weird for me to say that because there is so much brokenness, but it's hard to put into words.
Beauty and brokenness are two words. I don't know that I've heard that, but one, I like the alliteration, but it's also so true. It's just the most mind-boggling thing. And that's something that we can get into, kind of the juxtaposition between you're going thinking that you're strictly going to serve these people that need help. And in a sense, it's true. But it's such an exchange. It's such an exchange. And we talk about that all the time at the office. And that's something that you just truly cannot understand. We do, our marketing lady, Kelly, does an amazing job making videos and capturing the experience, but you just can't wrap your head around it until you go. It's like you're expecting this sadness and desperation because these people do not have what it takes to live a comfortable life. You know, they struggle to find the bare necessities, but every time I am just so blown away and caught off guard by the joy that's there and God's presence. And they know that God is there. There's no doubt in their mind. And it is just so overwhelming.
It is weird to put into words because there's so many things, like, you know, I'm thinking like you write a paper and you have your points that you need to go in order and here's how we do it. And I can't do that with this interview because it's like we can talk about the sponsorship of the kids. We can talk about what we do on a mission trip. We can talk about what you do when you come home, and it's like all intermingled. And going to the sponsorship kids, I will say, if you do sponsor a kid, it does change things when you are there and you get to see and meet your sponsored kid. There is this weird thing, for me at least, where I'm like, I can't believe I'm leaving. I can't believe I am invested in this kiddo who lives how many miles away from me?
Yeah.
And I'm with him for a couple hours and then I have to go home. Like that sucked. Like, no sugarcoating it. But at the same time, to be able to say I actually got to meet him is so amazing. And so if you are interested in sponsorship, we have everything on at the show notes at normalgoesalongway.com, where you can invest in a kiddo, get them an education, get them food, get them love. You get to talk to them through letters, and that's really cool. What I had said something to someone after we came back. I said, I wish I could just drive there. I think I told you that. I said, I just wish I could get in my car and go there for the weekend. And everybody's like, well, you can't really do that, Jill. It's like, no, I can't. But I would go back in a second, and it's not a vacation. I don't know how to explain it. It is not a vacation at all. And if you told me I could go this weekend, I would do it in a second.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It's so exhausting. But Nick, one of the things that you can do is do the safari, which if you're going to go to Uganda, you got to do the safari at least the first time that you go.
Absolutely.
And it was amazing. But my downtime at the safari I thought I would lean into it and love it. That was hard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What a mind right there. Like, I get it. You go from working so hard and being up really early and going to bed late and doing all these things. And then you go to a luxurious resort and you do see God's creation. Like, oh my gosh, I'll never forget seeing a lioness. And then you have downtime when you go back to your resort and you're like, I'm ready to go home. It's time to go home. So there's that. But getting inside these villages and talking about Uganda, I am not a world traveler by any means. I've been to Mexico and Jamaica, probably the farthest I've been. So to put into words what going to Uganda was like is very, very hard. But I remember at one point thinking, holy cow, God is so crazy. Like, look at the difference. And I was going good and bad. Like, I was frustrated. And then I was in awe because you go there, and as a white woman, I'm a minority, and I've never been in that situation before.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like head turning. Just
right
down the street, everyone knows right away that person is not from here.
Right. And if you've never been in that situation, it really puts your perspective into a whole nother level of, oh, we're supposed to all kind of be together and blend in without those stairs, but there is separation.
Yep.
But there's also this beautiful community that we can learn from. There was a lot more that happened that I didn't realize.
Yeah, that's something I noticed too, right? When I went to Uganda, I was like, when you get off the plane, I've traveled some. I'm not a world traveler either, like you said. I've been to a few different places out of the country, but I'm not the kind of guy that's, got a million boxes checked on his country list. And so it's kind of crazy that I'm doing this now. I've already been to Uganda twice this year, and I'm like,
how many times total have you been?
4 times.
Okay. So
I
go
went
ahead.
twice before the gig, and then I went twice this year.
Okay.
Doubled my numbers.
Nice.
Yeah. But it really kind of feels like you're getting off a spaceship when you get off in Uganda. Everything's just so different. And there's really nothing to compare it to here. You're driving down the road, and everything you thought you knew about, even things like just driving down the street, it's just completely different. The landscape there's nothing like it here. There's really not. But then, I don't know if you had this experience, but by the end of the trip, you have made these connections with different kids, or for you were spending a lot of time with the moms. And it's this weird realization where their situation is so different, their surrounding is so different, but it kind of came full circle for me, like, okay, these are people that are not any different from me. Mm-hmm. Their day-to-day looks a lot different. Yeah. But I've just had countless connections with people in Uganda where I'm like, this guy thinks like me. He's just one of the guys. If he lived in the U.S., he would be one of the guys. If I lived here, the same thing. So it's so interesting.
I can relate, like you said, with the moms. It's easy to talk to, besides the language barrier, but it's easy for someone who can translate, like, hey, we can talk about being a mom. We can relate to that kind of stuff. We can relate to whatever it is, but just being there for one another.
When I'm meeting people for the first time, or talking to people that I don't know, or people that in my head I think are very different from me, I'm like fixated on what I'm saying in my words. And then if something good comes from the conversation, I always am thinking, oh, this must have been because of something that I said. I said the right things. And when you can't communicate, like in Uganda, when you're hanging out with the moms, they're a lot of them have little to no education. They speak a few different languages in Uganda, depending on what region you grew up in. There's different dialects. So there's really no way of communicating with them. A lot of the time, a translator won't even help you because they speak different dialects.
Crazy.
And there's just like, they're so happy that you're there. And they just, you can tell they just love you. They do.
They do.
And there's nothing you could have said that could have won their heart over or anything. It's literally the presence, the fact that you came all that way, and it just shows to them that you care about them and that you love them or their kids or whatever it is. And that's like the mission trip in a nutshell to me. It's showing up is what the mission trip is about, and being present. And then we can get into the talking about what that means for the kids. A lot of the kids, you know, they don't have a father figure or a mother around. A lot of them are orphans. Some of them do. A lot of them live with grandparents or aunts and uncles. So just having someone older than them, someone who's committed to seeing them and being there for them and supporting them. Obviously, the money that you pay for a sponsorship helps with their education, but it's really the person that's paying the money that really, I think, means the most to them. It's not the check. The check is a huge deal for sure, but the person that is sending the check that believes in them and thinks that they're worth the money and sees the potential in them is really, I mean, I talk to so many of these kids and they're so unbelievably grateful for that.
When you just mentioned, though, talking to the kids, we should say that some of them know some English. It's still getting there. And then what I found was really cool is meeting some of those older kiddos and watching them write the letters to their sponsors and them actually being able to talk. We're having a conversation. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, this is the next generation. These are the kids that are going to be able to even talk about that impact even more.
Yes.
That was cool.
So cool.
And also when you were talking about making a difference in these kids' lives, like our sponsor boy, they have letters or activities that they all do for any of their sponsors. And he put down that it says, who's your best friend? And he wrote my name down. And I was like, and so we're opening it as a family. I'm like, guess who he said his best friend is? And Brian goes, you. And we were just joking around. I'm like, he sure did. And so it's like, oh my gosh. Like,
isn't that crazy?
Crazy. It's so crazy. Something else that you said about just a simple smile. Mm-hmm. That's the communication. I just remember these moms and these grandmas, like you said. I spent a lot of time with moms and grandmas because so often you feel unseen. And I wanted these women to know that they were seen. Like watching them walk down the street with buckets on their head filled with who knows what, them doing all this work, like, my gosh.
All the work.
Nick, there was one village we went to and I was taking pictures in the classroom, and it was the basically family relationships, like father, grandmother, aunt, uncle, sister, brother. At the bottom was mom. I'm like, no, she needs to be up top.
Isn't that weird?
It's so weird. So weird to me. So just being able to like look them in the eye and smile and have them smile back, you're like, I know you. I got you.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was a huge part of the June trip. We had ample team members, which was a huge blessing. As you know, a huge team. It was the biggest team we've ever taken to Uganda this past June. So we really had the flexibility to kind of split up, divide and conquer, and really pour into all of the different things that we're hoping to do on every mission trip. With smaller mission teams, you got to kind of, focus on the things that need to get done. But having people to hang out with the sponsored kids and deliver all the packets and make sure that the photos get taken to send back to the sponsors, and then the unsponsored students, someone to entertain them, and then you got all this different stuff going on, and then having you guys able to really pour into those women was such a cool thing.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, it just felt natural. I'd love to actually explain, though, how crazy different it is. So think about this. Think about never, ever, ever seeing yourself ever. You don't have a mirror. I mean, where are you going to see yourself? So one thing that you all prepared us for is like the kids love your phones. And so, I mean, even the women, you would take their picture and you would show them, and it was just like this aha moment. So one of the things that we did was, well, I was a little too ambitious. I wanted to do some sort of like paint by number kind of situation, and had my packet all laminated and ready to go. And gosh, naive, didn't know, never been.
Gotta be flexible.
Flexible. So we had some paper and we had some paint, and these women, some of them did not even know what to do with the paintbrush and the paint. Mm-hmm. And that was mind-blowing. This also goes back to translation. I don't know, you do know some of this, but from even one village to the next. Here's what happened on the very first, was it Nakabongo that I did the very first activity? That's where we went to church. So yes. This was the first day that I led the women's craft / activity, and I led it with a wonderful young woman, Ellie. We had a translator, and I don't even really know how this transpired. I know that we were going to just maybe have them draw their family. So I was talking and I said, I want them to know how much they're seen, how much that I think they're my heroes. And I explained, but I have this tattoo on my right inside arm, and it's of an elephant. That's going to be the next one. It's a mama bear, because as mama bears, we protect our cub. And the translator's talking that through, and there's just this look of puzzlement on these women's faces. And then she says something else. This cheer happens, and like Ellie and I look at each other, and I get goosebumps. And the translator says, they don't know what a bear is, but they sure know what a lioness does for her cub. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yep. Okay. So then these women drew their family, and they were giggling and laughing the whole time. They had no idea what to draw or how to represent their family. And it was amazing what they drew. Then we went to another village and we did the same thing. And this is how it translated. They started drawing animals. Because she was talking about the mama bear, and then she talked about the lioness, and then they started drawing like cats and snakes and dogs. I'm like, whatever, they're having fun. But it was just even seeing that, but just being there with these women, that was incredible.
Did you have people drawing like more kids than you ever would think they would have?
So that was another thing I learned on our very first village that we went to. Nobody warns me about babies, little kids being scared of what are we, mazungos?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is so funny and sad at the same time. So I would see kids that would look at me and not smile, and you guys were really good about saying, like, sometimes if a kid's not smiling, they're sick. But I would see these kids like put their hands over their eyes, And I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And it was some people that had been on a mission trip before. They're like, oh, do you remember when that one girl screamed at you? And I said, oh, she was excited. And they're like, no, she's scared.
Yeah. In these villages, these communities, the sense of community is very strong. So there's not a lot of strangers. You get a lot of, the reason why I asked about the paintings of the families, sometimes you'll get 13 kids on there.
Yeah.
And then if you talk to one of the Ugandans that can speak English, they'll explain to you not all of these kids are biological kids. They have this village kind of mindset where, they're putting kids on their family tree that are might be their neighbor's kids or their sister's kids, or it could be anything. They're all kind of helping out, parent each other's kids, and so it's this kind of enclosed. The villages are very rural, so you don't get a lot of people passing through. So, for one, we're just strange, and two, we do look very different. And a lot of them, they've never been into the city, they've never been on the internet. Obviously, they don't have television, so a white person's a completely foreign thing.
Yeah. So that happened to me, and I was like, oh no. And anybody that knows me and my people-pleasing self and wanting to be accepted, I had a little girl, 2 little girls come and sit on my lap. I would say they were 3 and 4. And the younger one ended up like taking off, and it was a while. Like, she was on my lap for a while, and she left her flip-flops by me, and I tracked her. I watched her, and I saw her go to her mom, and her mom is smiling across the way and waving, and I have no idea what's happening. And then I see her leave. Well, then she comes back, and she's kind of standing by me, and then mom comes, and I'm trying to talk to her. I'm like, oh, here's her flip-flops. And so one of our, James, came over. He is with the LCU, correct, in Uganda. And he translates, and he just says it so bluntly, like, she's afraid of you. I'm like, oh my gosh. But so mom is trying to get the girl to sit on my lap. I'm like, no, I don't want her to sit on my lap because she was crying. And I did learn later that sometimes the moms or grandmas or the aunts, they want their kiddos to get used to the white person that's there. So I didn't feel like it was my first village. I didn't know what was going on. And so fast forward, we're all after lunch, everybody's out and about, and I am talking to who has now become a staple in my heart. Her name is Pay Ruth. She is part of the staff at Hearts and Hope in Uganda. And I said something about, I don't know how that all went down. And actually what happened was I found the mom of the little girl, and I went over there, and she gave me a hug. The mom did. And the little girl was there, and mom said something to the little girl, and then she gave me a hug. And another mom, and these women were like you said, a community, jumping around, playing, doing all kinds of things, looking after each other's kids. And so I had said to one mom, I'm like, how many kids do you have? And she said, many. And I said, oh, how many? And she said, 8, 10. And then I was kind of confused, and she asked me, I said, I have 2. And she said, that's it? I said, yep. And she said, boys, girls? I said, 2 girls. So then later I talked to Pay Ruth about it, and she said, when we say many, that includes the village. It includes who we take care of. She said, if you want to know how many biological kids, you say, how many biological kids do you have? And that was another like, oh my gosh, we're getting it wrong here.
Yep. One of many learning opportunities on the Uganda mission trip. I have countless of those encounters where I'm like, why? This seems so simple. Why are we not doing this back home? So simple and so objectively good.
Right.
And that's one of them. I feel like here we come home from work, we pull into the garage, close the door behind us, go
Sure
in.
do.
And, yeah, just, I don't know, neighborliness.
Well, and I describe the villages as this. It's kind of like a subdivision when you go into the villages, because you see, I think when you hear village, you think everybody's like right there. And then we talk about the schools being there. It's like a subdivision. There's a school that's the center point of the village, if there is a school
Very
there.
much so.
And then all along the way, you see these different homes. But to Americans, they're shacks or they're straw huts.
A mud hut, yeah.
So seeing that and seeing how they all come together, that is a lesson that we need here. So for sure saw that. Something else that I wanted to bring up in our time together is when you come home and people are like, what did you do there? And it's easy to say, we're just hanging out with everyone, and they don't get it. So many times you want people to go in, or people want to go into these different countries and do something.
Yeah, I get a lot of that.
But they don't do it well. I heard recently after my time in Uganda, there was this famous YouTuber who had all these wells installed throughout Uganda, but he had his people or whoever he contracted out to do it. And then they are not operational. So what did we do? Like, I commend the guy for trying to do something amazing, but it's sustaining it.
Yeah. When we started this podcast out, I talked about the first 10 years being figuring it out. And that's, you would be amazed. Sitting in on these staff meetings, I am just blown away hearing about the more logistical project side of the mission and how many lessons have been learned. And Hearts and Hope's sitting at a really good spot now. But there's just so many, international missions is just such a fragile thing, especially in a third world country. There's so many pitfalls that you just could not even dream up that are so easy to fall into. And one of them is that it's projecting the way we do things here on a place that's just tangibly different. The dirt and the ecosystem and everything, it all operates differently. So if you dig a well how you do it here, a lot of the time it just doesn't work.
Right.
So that's one side of it, which sounds like what happened to the YouTuber guy that you're talking about. And then there's like the economy that you're affecting. If you go in, and we've learned this, like if you just bring 1,000 pairs of shoes, because you go to Uganda and a lot of the kids don't have shoes, and it's heartbreaking. So a lot of people come home and they're like, we got to get some shoes to Uganda, which makes sense. And that's out of the kindness of your heart. And it's so easy to think that. Kid doesn't have shoes, let's get him some shoes. But there's just so many things, like, what about the guy down the street that is trying to feed his kids, and he's the town shoe salesman, and you bring everybody a pair of shoes, and it's like, oh shoot. There's just so many things to it that they've learned along the way. There's so many moving parts, and that's what Todd and Andy say the first 10 years they've been kind of getting a grasp on, and still so much to learn. Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy intricate thing that I'm just getting started. I haven't even been working here for a year, but I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and it's so crazy cool.
Well, because, and I think I said this to you too, either in Uganda or shortly after, like, I'm sure everybody has an idea or an opinion, and they come to you and they tell you this, and you don't know. And speaking of Sarah and Kelly a lot, like, I can, tell that they're used to saying, okay, no, we understand what your intention is, but this is what, like, that's a whole nother education. I ran into it shortly after Uganda. Somebody approached me about, we want to do these things for these girls there. But it's like, well, wait a minute. Some of the girls that are getting sponsored through Hearts and Hope are going on to vocational school where they're learning how to sew, or they're learning how to bake or whatever. Like, let them keep it in their home and in their area. That's what we want for them.
Yes.
It's not a hand out.
Nope.
it's a, what do you say? It's a hand up. Like, you want to give them and empower them to do the things to be sustainable.
Yes, that is wow, you know it better than me. That is the core building block of Hearts and Hope as a mission. It's like all focused on that empowerment piece. And back to what you said, like, what do we do when we go? We're not bringing our tool belts and building stuff, because there's contractors in Uganda that are fully capable, not only capable, but more equipped to do the work than we are. And could use the work. So why would we not utilize that? It helps that guy out. It makes sure that it's done the right way. And then we don't have to come in and try and act like we know what we're doing, when in reality we really don't.
No.
So it's funny, on mission trip meetings or just talking to people in passing about mission trips, people are always basically like, what do you do? What do you build? There's a slide on my mission trip meeting where it's, do you build something, in quotations? And then the next slide is, yes, ... relationships, which is so true. That is what we believe is and should be our focus.
Just thinking it through when you said that, I mean, we'll probably never know in our lifetime, but if we continue what we're doing, and your dad was a model for you and your sisters, I hope to be a model for my kiddos. If it just keeps going, that's really cool to think about. Like, the partnership. I mean, I know I just mentioned Pay Ruth, but I just think about her so much. And they're not that any of the other people that I met weren't, it just, that was my connection. You connect with certain people, and I'm like, man, how do we work this out to where, like, generations to come, where, like, we can keep saying, oh, did you know that my mom met your mom? And then they introduced me, and like, how do I take some advice from her? How does she take some advice from me? And like, it could be so cool to just connect in this faraway land that is so completely different than us.
And it's totally possible in this day and age. It is. I was reading, I don't remember where I read it from, but it's this idea of, as Christians, we're called to love our neighbors. And with technology where it stands, you don't really have a good argument that Ugandans aren't our neighbors. I mean, you can get there in a day and some change.
Yeah.
And you can communicate with them from across the world. So it's like, they are our neighbors, the way I look at it. And it's such a symbiotic thing. It just feels so meant to be. Things like, $35 a month is what it costs to sponsor a primary student. And for most Americans, a lot of Americans, that is something that we can fork over. $35 a month, that's like a meal. And that's paying for a month of the kids' education, meals at school, uniforms, all of that. And then there's so many things, which we've already kind of tapped into this, that we're lacking here. For some people, it's a sense of community. For some people, it's this spirit of gratefulness for the little things. Some people, it's just an unwavering, bold faith. And those are all things that when you go to Uganda, you would have to walk around blindfolded to not notice, that are in the hearts of so many people over there. To me, it's such a no-brainer.
I am forever changed, but I'm also human. And there are things that I think about or get frustrated about that I really shouldn't. And sometimes it just takes the Holy Spirit to go, hey, remember in June where you were and what you did and what they had and what you don't have, and vice versa. Like,
absolutely. I feel so blessed to be in a spot where I get to go a minimum of twice a year for work, because it does not take me long to forget all my lessons I've learned and things I've witnessed. It's just like, I don't know if it's the culture we live in or human nature or everything combined, but it's just so easy. You get into the rigmarole of your day to day, and next thing you know, I blink my eyes and I'm stressing the little things.
Yep.
It's just,
And I would definitely say I've thought about this a lot. Like, what if one of the people that we met there came and lived here? Like, that's not the answer.
nope.
And that's where people need to be educated too. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up, Nick. What didn't I cover, or what's something that you want someone to know, or anything? I don't know if you know this, but we've talked about the first 10 years of Hearts and Hope. Have you guys talked about the next 10 years?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's actually the breakdown is we're looking at 10-year projections. So you hit the nail on the head there. We're looking to do a lot more of everything that we're doing right now. Just amping it up, continuing to tune in and looking for the ways that the Holy Spirit is already working around us, and just trying to figure out where we fit into that and doing it to the best of our ability. So more schools, the more schools we can build, the better. The more kids we can get sponsored, the better. The more grants we can send over to build up the Lutheran Church of Uganda and to fund individual little business ventures and things for our students. We're leaning in and pedal to the metal on all of it. So we hired a couple new staff at the beginning of the year. I was one of them, and we're looking to hopefully have to keep doing that and just getting after it.
One thing that I will say that I am also very passionate about, that I think you guys are starting to do a little bit more, is the education of the young girls and their monthly cycles and what that's like. Because one thing that people don't realize is that a lot of those girls, when it's their time of month, like, they can't go to school. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I have heard other people are very excited and passionate about. And I did get to witness one village where we had some of the mission trip goers from a church in California hand out some materials to the young girls. And I was like, in my mind thinking, I hope I'm witnessing history here. Like, I hope I'm witnessing the change of what's to come for these women. So that's very exciting to think through. I hope to go on many more mission trips with you. And
Let's go.
I know, right? I know. I'm like, okay, did I rip the Band-Aid off and now I can leave the girls again? I mean, I can. I'll still need to go to therapy, but
The floodgates are unleashed.
I know. It's so crazy. So thank you. Thank you for leading me along the way. Like, you were such a huge, huge help to me. And
Absolutely.
I saw how you rocked it when we were there. That is not an easy, it's not a lot. It can't be easy to wrangle a bunch of different personalities and opinions and all that, but you handled it amazingly.
Thank you. I've been saying it, though. I really believe that group, this June trip, the one that Jill went on, was my first true leadership trip in charge. And I truly believe that God curated that team, because all the ends it felt like everyone was just stepping up to the plate. And there were things that happened. I mean, nothing drastic happened, but little things go wrong here and there. And, you're in a foreign place away from your family, like you said. That's just kind of puts you in a emotionally like heightened state. And everyone just really stepped up. And I felt extremely blessed, still do, that was the team that I got to take for the first trip. And you were an incredible asset too. And I'm so glad you went, because you just have that gift of speaking about it and getting people amped up. And it's something that a lot of people can go and have an amazing trip, but I feel like you do a really good job of taking the next steps and sharing your experience. And yeah, it was amazing. Super grateful.
All right, so all things Hearts and Hope, mission trip, sponsorship, buildings, schools, all of it. We will have the information at normalgoesalongway.com with all the show notes. And then I'll put your information out there too, Nick, so people can get a hold of you. And let's do this. Let's just make it bigger and badder, and not badder. That's word. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Michael Jackson bad.
Yes, fat with a PH, that
Yep.
kind of situation. So thank you for spending time with me today.
Absolutely. And I want to say, too, there's so many ways to get involved in the mission. Sponsorship's not for everybody. Mission trips are surely not for everybody. Everyone's at different points in their life. Everyone has different ways to contribute. But one thing I will ask for is just prayers for the organization, for our friends in Uganda, our staff in Uganda, for all the kiddos, for the people who are involved in all the different ways, mission teams, partners, church partners, donors, just that God would be with us and steering us and helping us along the way. And if that's what you contribute to the mission, that is more than we could ever ask.
Amen.